Hi everybody, Jillian here. Welcome back to my channel for a new Heritage Scrapbook process video. Today I'm going to be using a lot of pieces from Crate Paper's Wonder Collection to scrapbook these two 4x6 photos of a house in Philadelphia. I'll be using the chipboard, the glitter shapes, and the puffy stickers all from the Wonder Collection. So I've already scrapbooked about a house in my Heritage albums. Here's a look at the last project I did a few months ago. If you want to watch the process video, I'll go ahead and link that down in the description below, or you can find it in the My Heritage Scrapbook playlist. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting down this Maggie Holmes confetti background paper, or I'm going to use it as a background, and it has this great circle in the middle. So I want to keep that circle centered. Since all my layouts are 9 by 12, I'm going to go ahead and take 1.5 inches off of both sides of the layout. And I'm going to use this house pattern paper from the Wonder Collection again. How can I not? It's just so appropriate for this story. And I also chose it for another reason that you'll see soon. I wanted a busier piece of pattern paper at the top. So I'm going to use about a 3.5 inch by 9 inch block of that paper for this layout. So this photo that I have in my hand is originally taken in, I want to say, around either the 30s or 40s or something. And then the one here that I'm going to mat on this brown corrugated looking paper, that was taken last month. We went on basically an ancestry genealogy trip for a couple weeks in February, and this is one of the places that we wanted to see. The address is 549 Locust Street in Philadelphia, and it's where my husband's great-grandparents and a few other people lived. So I want to go ahead and include the original photo that we have from his grandmother, as well as the current one that we took. So what I'm doing here is just looking for some paper to cover the join of those two pattern papers. It's typically what I like to do. Kind of like a belt cinching these two pattern papers, if you will. I went through my ephemera collection and I pulled out these red and aqua colored labels, and you'll see how I use those. Those are pretty much most of the embellishments that I'm going to use on this page. I'm looking for something here on the chipboard sheet, and I pull out the little yellow house, and I am going to use that as the other embellishment on the page. So I think these labels might be from Maggie Holmes' Style Board collection. I'm not sure. I recently went into my workspace and pulled out all of the cut apart sheets that I have, all of them, and I spent some time cutting apart my favorite pieces that I knew I would use, and then I put them in this like ephemera catch-all thing, and that's what I've been pulling from recently. So you'll see what I'm doing is cutting them down so that I can layer them on the right and left side of the photo. And then that will be a great place to journal. So I let some of them run off the edge, and then I'm just going to go ahead and trim the excess. So what I'm doing here is I have this washi tape. It's from Kelly Perky, and I think it's meant to be stamped on. But I wanted to try something different in this album, and I wanted to include kind of an interactive element. I wasn't sure how this was going to play out. I actually procrastinated a lot when I started to make this layout because I wasn't sure if it's going to work. So basically what I'm doing is I am adhering some of this clear washi tape, it's pretty clear, to the pattern paper that is matting that 4x6 photo on the top. And then what I'm going to do is make sure that the majority of the tape is on top of that house pattern paper. And it was important to have a busier paper up at the top so that you wouldn't be able to detect the tape. You guys will see in the close-ups just how translucent it is. And as I'm watching the video now, I can barely tell. So I'm basically creating a flip up so that you can see the house in the 30s and then 86 years later. I thought about using these glitter shapes to layer behind the photo and those labels, but I decided not to go with it in the end. I also roughed up the edges of those labels to provide a little more dimension on the page and to make it look a little aged. So at this point I realized that I haven't selected any thickers for a title, so I'm going through the couple of boxes of thickers that I have. And I really don't have any fancy storage. These are actually boxes that I found at Costco that we had used to bring some groceries home in or something. And then I just kind of have held on to them because they are the perfect width for my thickers. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a few options. I'm not really in love with anything, and you'll see what I chose here. I actually had a stash hanging out in a third place in a bag that I had taken to a crop, and I wanted to check that too. So I'm looking at those craft stickers from A Beautiful Mess, the gray stickers from October Afternoon. Those are from Crepe Paper's Wonder collection, and I like them, but I end up not using them because they're just too colorful and I want the focus to be on the photo. So I'm thinking that I'm going to appreciate the smaller font here of these two alphabets, but then I realized that there are no numbers on the sheet, so that stinks. But it makes the decision process that much easier. So now I'm trying to decide what color I want here. I don't want something super brown because I feel like there's a lot of brown in the photos and I wanted to keep this layout a little lighter. So then I decided to use those brown wood grain thickers. I got them at Hobby Lobby a while ago, and I'm going to use that for the number and the address, and then I'm going to go ahead and use these craft stickers for the street name. As I was pulling those letters down and putting them on the wax paper, I realized that I didn't have any A's for the word avenue, and I really wanted the title to be 349 Locust Avenue, but I decided just to forget it, and then I can record that part of the address elsewhere. And then I got an adorable visitor, and it felt like that was a good stopping place, and then I should just stick with that decision and then move on after our playtime. You might notice as I'm putting the number and letter stickers down that there is some text printed on the pattern paper. I'm just going to go ahead and cover that up with these pieces. You can see in the close-ups what it looks like, but it doesn't really bother me. I feel like the focus of this page is actually the photo and the story at the bottom, so I don't sweat it. That's the place where I want to put them in. That's where I stick them down. In an effort to bring some more color down to the bottom of the layout, I go ahead and use this yellow chipboard house. I wanted to bring in some of the yellow from the top of the pattern paper down to the bottom. Next, I'm going to get started on my journaling, and I put the house there, and I wasn't sure about journaling around it, but in the end I like the way it looks. I thought about removing it, and that's what my hesitation was for a minute. The journaling simply says, 549 East Locust Avenue in Philadelphia was home to Albert and Anna Klaproth. The house was built around 1925, and the Klaproths lived there until 1940 when Albert died. Others lived with them as well, Anna's mother Palmyra until her death in 1936, and perhaps their daughter Palmyra before she was married in 1927. We visited the house on our trip to Philadelphia in February 2016, stopping only long enough for Stephen to hop out of the car and pose for a picture. At the time of their ownership, it was valued at $10,000. So I'm not crazy about how the journaling wraps up there with the valuation of the home. I included that because when I originally ended the journaling, it stopped to the left of the house and I really wanted to bring it around to the right. And I didn't even achieve that when I included that last fact. I have plenty of room to go ahead and add more information as it becomes available. I still want to get a look at the deed of the house, and that's something that I have to order online. So I have plenty of room to include more information. And I can also include information on those labels to the left and right of the photo, and that's what I'm going to do here. I want to note that it's a semi-detached house, and this address specifically is for the unit on the right. I also wanted to mention that all of this information was pretty much taken from census records and death records that were available to me on Ancestry.com. It took a little bit of research and jotting things down, but I ultimately got a pretty good picture of who lived here. And then lastly, I just want to mention how this is going to go in my album. I'm simply going to take a page protector and then cut out a 4x6 hole in the middle of it so that you're able to use the interactive element. So that simply means I'm going to put a piece of cardboard in between the page protector and then use a craft knife to cut a 4x6 slot in it. And that's it. Here's one more look at the finished layout along with the big reveal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love sharing these with you and love reading your feedback, and I would really encourage you guys to start on your own heritage projects. If you guys have any questions about where to start or want to see anything in particular, please leave me a comment below. I will see you back here next Saturday with a new heritage process video. Bye!